welcome to another edition of XFeed. If you guys have been around the space at all, you know that the timeline sentiment, as per usual, is quite interesting right now. If you haven't been following the market, basically a whole bunch of the blur bids got yanked. Ben Dow has some Oracle liquidation problems. We're seeing a complete cascade of the entire NFT market right now. Well, maybe not necessarily the entire market, but a lot of some of the top collections right now. We're seeing different takes on the timeline. Going to jump into that, but first off, what we're going to do is go over an article written by Matt Bartlett talking about the shifting current for NFTs. Now, I've read through this, and there's a lot of interesting points within this. I'm going to, discuss different angles of it. We're going to go through the entire article, and I'm just going to share different opinions of that, and I appreciate you guys coming on through here. So let's start it off. Dear future whales, in this note, we examine how various projects are adapting to the evolving market dynamics, highlighting successful strategies like those of Pudgy Penguins, and discussing critical moments for projects like Futureverse. Additionally, it categorizes top-tier collectibles, notable Solana projects, and mid-tier contenders, which is kind of what we're going to focus on with that, because it is interesting that we have the perception of mid-tier, top-tier, lower tier as well, where we are kind of at a stage where some of these projects, well, pretty much all of them are only, 2 to 3 years old, but it is interesting to see the way that we perceive the deliverables of each of those. So, key takeaways: adapting to change. The NFT space is shifting, with projects needing to innovate to stay relevant, exemplified by Pudgy Penguins' move into real-world assets. I think, Haliax, what's going on? Yes. I agree that there seems to be this notion about innovation overall. Now, is that something all these teams are going to be able to do? I don't know, but I think we are still at that stage where we all collectively say, at least, if you're watching here and you're into the space, like, yes, we see that there's formats, use cases for everything to be digital in a more authentic way. Comparatively, again, if you have an account where, if you have League of Legends and you bought a skin, then you get banned for that, then you have to buy a new account, recreate all these things. It's, it's just the world's changing, and it's very interesting to see all the shape up. But mid-tier challenges: projects like Yuga Labs and Futureverse face declining asset values and shifting community sentiment, highlighting the need for continued innovation. Now, the interesting part with this fact of like the shifting community sentiment particularly is when you go into either Discord, because I've checked out both. I follow a whole bunch of people within the Yuga ecosystem as well as Futureverse, and it is kind of 50-50. There's some people that are like, hey, this is great. We have to preach patience. We can look at the past and see what the deliverables have been, where there's other people that are like, why the hell is this taking so long? This thing was a fumble. This went bad. And the contrast of both situations. Emerging real-world asset platforms. New opportunities for collectors are emerging through platforms like Watches.io, Collector's Crypt, and tokenized wine providers like Club Divin and Cantinium. And I agree. There's a lot of real-world asset components to it where it just makes it easier for us to talk with friends. So the current landscape today, the NFT space is not just about decreased JPEG values and sinking sentiment. It's witnessing a major pivot. Numerous projects once buoyed by venture capital at overly high valuations are finding their financial runway shortening, forcing them to innovate or pivot to stay relevant. Now, with this of the financial runway, I couldn't agree more. And one of the biggest problems that we saw, and it's kind of public, but not really, is all these teams raised a lot of money, but we don't know necessarily the burn rate. And something for Yuga Labs, I remember we went over an article where somebody broke down what their revenue was like, and they ended up losing money or something crazy for that. But at the same time, we're like, okay, they had that huge other side sale, and we can go from collection to collection. This isn't just kind of a Yuga thing, but there are the aspect of the costs within Web3, and something that burned most of the smaller collections in the early days is devs were charging an exorbitant amount that just kind of canned everything. You're like, hey, this is kind of the good momentum. We have devs that we're going to work with, and there's just so many opportunities. You end up hiring one, and then they're like, okay, cool, your collection's out there, then we're gone, and then you have to figure things out. And a lot of people didn't have that expertise in a time when that was just, slightly coming along. Some, like Pudgy Penguins, have successfully leaned into real-world assets through plushy collectibles, a strategy many, including myself, see as the future of NFTs. And so that kind of comment, I think it feels, or it shows the aspect that all of these Web3 brands are essentially that. It's just incepted on the blockchain. They got their first kick from the notion of, hey, we love digital assets, et cetera, and now we're pulling through to somewhere else. You said 8 p.m. for what? No, I didn't say 8 p.m. I listen, not good. I said, are you playing League at 8 p.m. with the guys in the Facebook group? But listen, they're going to be late anyway. You know what I mean? Okay, so notable shifts. Main takeaway, the NFT space is seeing significant changes with projects switching blockchains, reallocating studios, and facing critical delivery milestones, all highlighting the industry's dynamic and competitive nature. We've seen a whole bunch of projects switch things from DeGods, from Solana to Polygon back to Solana. And I think even on Ethereum at a point, I got that wrong. We're seeing the doodles switch from Ethereum to Flow to now Base. All this stuff, we say, okay, we're excited about it, and then all of a sudden there's a pivot, sometimes for good reasons. But of course, if you make big bets on a certain blockchain because you're like, hey, I love what a certain ecosystem is bringing to this, and then they move, it feels kind of weird. So DeGods has flip-flopped between chains, possibly lured by network incentives or current active users, while Doodles recently moved its studio to Base, a win for the network just announced yesterday. Futureverse, a project I have high hopes for, is now at a critical juncture. They must deliver on their promises with the Third Kingdom and open by ready first or risk fading into obscurity. And this is interesting with the fact of like fading into obscurity because, you know, I'm going to be honest, every time I see lists out there, and if you've been watching the stream for a while, we highlight a lot of people giving tier lists and whatnot, and I saw somebody today, Bear Snake from Forgotten Runes Wizard Cult, who was talking with somebody, and I might actually have the tweet within here later on in the show, but they were talking about how right now the space is going to have a resurgence from those collections that are kind of like a cult, and obviously that's like a buzzword and whatnot, but there was a list of collections the founder that he was talking to said was going to do great because of that, and Futureverse wasn't on the list. For the teams that are raising a whole bunch of money, Futureverse is never on these lists, etc., etc. So I feel like right now, I don't know if it's not known, if people just don't like it, etc., etc., but I feel like it's kind of like in obscurity right now unless you've been paying attention to things, but obviously there is a lot relying on that. 2 years ago, Blur's marketplace dynamics and token farming were blamed for by many for plummeting NFT prices as users engaged in high-risk trades to farm rewards. Today, Blur has launched Blast, its own layer 2, becoming a playground for crypto enthusiasts where the primary bragging rights revolve around jackpot earnings. Now, this is interesting because Blur has been blamed massively for the NFT prices, but if you've seen the timeline, which we'll get into, it is gruesome out there without the Blur bids, and they absolutely helped prop up the market. How much so? Well, we'll kind of see over the next coming days. Community voice and market sentiment. Last month, I penned an open letter expressing my concerns, not expecting much change. However, in its 101st edition of Blubber Notes, I share insights on a few projects that are likely to endure. I categorize them into tiers based on personal assessments and their application of profile pictures, gaming, and real-world assets, focusing on EVM-compatible projects, but also touching on others. So, top tier versus mid tier. Okay, listen, we love being judgmental. Now is your time to do so. Let's see what we got. Top tier NFT projects typically maintain strong market positions due to robust community support, strategic marketing, and established historical significance. I massively agree with the point about historical significance. It's felt like for a lot of the quote-unquote Ethereum blue chips, there has been this, oh, it's reached an ETH floor. It's reached 2 ETH. Oh, it's been to 10 ETH. Oh, this is an absolute steal at these prices. When is that relevant, or is it just because of the historical significance of the price that it was, or the historical significance of it was the first, which we love? Often enjoying higher stability and value. Mid-tier projects, while still significant, face challenges like declining asset values and fluctuating community sentiment, requiring continuous innovation and successful project execution to improve their standing and achieve long-term relevance. So, in the top-tier collectibles, we have Pudgy Penguins. They've mastered marketing in Web3, which we highlighted yesterday, again, helping with like the pudgy kindness and having that individual who streams go completely viral, and they've done a couple other things, which is really nice to see. But again, there's more beyond that. Collaborating with their team on upcoming items and events has shown me their strategic prowess. They're playing chess in an arena where many are stuck on checkers. Bottom line, if you are a serious collector, it's hard to overlook the Pudgy IP. And I think when you compare Pudgy to a lot of other things within the space, just generally on the looks, almost everybody is going to pick that compared to a lot of other ones, just off the cuteness factor, whatever. Are people people actually going to be putting in those amounts of mass money? Not necessarily, but that's where, these real world asset toys and everything else comes into play. But again, I think Luke has done a really, really good job and speaks very, very well. So CryptoPunks, which are part of Yuga Labs now, a timeless symbol of digital art history. Holding a punk not only signifies ownership of a historic asset, but also grants access to exclusive events like those hosted by Beeple. Despite recent controversies with associated side projects, the CryptoPunks brand remains resilient, albeit not likely viewed as the top prize for much longer. Leadership is needed here, but I think they will pull through. So this is an interesting point because, again, we've seen everybody have 105 takes around CryptoPunks. This was similar to what was going on with Bored Apes at a point when they were on their trajectory to, well over 100 ETH. There was a lot of scrutiny and different conversations around that, what people are wanting. Do they care about certain things, decisions that are made? We have some people that are emotional over certain things, other ones that don't really care. But I mean, again, we're a bunch of people that are like chronically online. Spotlight on Solana. So Boggles to Solana, what punks are to Ethereum. Our undeniable success story. I don't actually know what Boggles is, so I need to look that up. Portals.to, extensively covered in previous posts, they offer the best metaverse building tools accessible on modest hardware, ensuring global accessibility. Their ongoing loot box drop is worth exploring. They have a winner on their hands, and like everything else, this will just take time. Now, I remember hearing about Portals a while ago, but it's felt like they've just not, like, it's not popped up on my timeline anywhere near the extent of the likes of Sandbox. And I mean, even Decentraland, I think I've seen more than Portals, and maybe that's just good because my timeline's more things that aren't Solana based. I'm not exactly sure. So mid-tier contenders. Okay. Bored Ape Yacht Club is at a top tier and into mid-tier. Very interesting. Yuga Labs made a major impact in the NFT space with the launch of Bored Ape Yacht Club in April of 2021. This collection of 10,000 unique NFTs quickly became highly sought after, gaining status within the crypto community. Bored Ape Yacht Club holders enjoy exclusive benefits, including access to members-only events and limited edition merchandise, but you do have to pay for it. The ecosystem expanded with additional collections like Bored Ape Kennel Club and Mutant Ape Yacht Club, further enhancing its appeal. Now, there was also the heavy metal, the Legends of Mara. There was a whole bunch of different things, and the one aspect of Bored Apes was that it just felt like one of the reasons to hold it was you were always getting dropped these assets of some kind of value for it. Yo, Buffalo Space, what's going on? No, this is an article from Matt Bartlett on Blubber Notes here. Curious what your thoughts are going through this. And in the gaming arena, Yuga Labs has been particularly ambitious with the development of Otherside, a large-scale MMORPG announced in March of 2022. This game integrates NFTs into its virtual world, allowing players to explore, interact, and create within a richly detailed digital environment. To concentrate efforts on Otherside, Yuga Labs sold 2 of its NFT game projects, Heavy Metal and Legends of the Mara, to Faraway, a Web3 gaming studio. So I guess that went and touched on those games that I just mentioned, but it is, when we're comparing this, Yuga, I felt like was at the top tier, and there's still a lot of things that are going very, very well. But there was this really awkward period where they brought in Daniel Allegre, who was the guy from Activision Blizzard. And I don't know how much they paid him, but Mangalarga, if you know Mangalarga, love Mangalarga, he sent me a video of an interview with the guy who is in charge of Pixelmon, and he was talking about hiring people for Web3 and talking about the importance of having people that really understand that. And from the moment that Daniel Allegre came on and you saw in Discord that he had like the default PFP, and you're like, okay, so everybody in Web3 uses Discord. This guy is not that. He's talking using these terms. It just felt like the vibes were kind of off. And again, this huge corporate feel. So over the last little bit, it's been really weird for Bored Apes, but we do have to remember as well, they've done the Ape Fest every year. Well, I've been kind of critical of like, why the hell haven't we been able to do that online? Some of the ways to get tickets have been like a little odd, but still they've come through and done that. They had the poll with the different celebrities, obviously had the partnership with MoonPay, which got the attention for it. Obviously, that was a time taking advantage of the market, but they were able to do that, and they have been generally able to hold the collection values throughout with different staking mechanisms, yada, 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 yada. But obviously, we're waiting to see what Otherside is all about, and we're going to get more into that because Garga did give us an update today. However, Yuga Labs has recently faced challenges, including a drop in the floor price of their assets and shifting community sentiment. These factors have push the brand to a mid-tier level, necessitating renewed efforts to maintain long-term value and engagement. Their future success will depend on their ability to innovate and fulfill the high expectations of their community, ensuring Bored Ape Yacht Club remains influential and sets new standards for NFT projects. So we have this point now where when you hit a certain floor, which again, Apes went to like 150 ETH, which is like almost $500,000 at a point, and the fact that they raised, at like a $4 billion valuation, they have all these players and they mean to do something huge. Those expectations are suddenly increased way more than almost every other ecosystem. So the Futureverse ecosystem, many of you will not agree that Futureverse should even be considered mid-tier. I place them here because their overall technology stack and ecosystem as a whole. Futureverse has been on my radar from the start. Despite their ambitious beginnings and substantial funding, they have yet to deliver a compelling title. Over the last year, they have launched a mobile game app tied to AI football within the FIFA AI League, a racing game which is called Racers. It's very similar to Zedrun, where you pay tickets to enter a race, and then if you win, you get something. If you don't, you don't. A boxing game with the Muhammad Ali branding, and a Goblin Brawler, which is kind of like an AI game where you like click into it, and then it has a simulation where you can watch your character fight a whole bunch of other people, and then you can earn this junk as a reward to get more goblins. I'm sure the community would agree with me that none of these seem to have legs yet and will fail to onboard the masses. Now, I kind of agree with this. I'm not a huge fan of the games. I remember I tried grinding out the FIFA game, Gods and Goblins. They reduced the rewards. I've been running a whole bunch of different characters. It's not, it's not top of the line, but the thing with Futureverse is they keep saying that they're a tech stack, and it's hard to decipher the two, right? Because if you're going to be a tech stack, well, you also have these games. Well, currently everybody, for the most part, that are playing these games are just going to judge it based off of that aspect. Obviously, we have the Ready Player One that's going to get into here in a second that I think will be very, very interesting and have some of these better experiences. And when I was able to interview the Futureverse team and Aaron and Shara, we did kind of talk about the proof of concept, and they said that it helped them land a lot of deals, but from like your average user, yeah, I mean, they're not like great games by any means. Their next big hope lies with the Third Kingdom, a resource harvesting game, and the Readyverse Open. Think Oasis for Ready Player One. The hope here is that previous work in technology created to develop the above-mentioned titles lays the groundwork to finally have a hit. If these fail, it could spell disaster, not just losing community support, but also investor confidence. Now, the one thing to note with this is I think there's a lot of games with, I should say, Web3 brands that are betting big on releases, right? With Yuga Labs on other side, Doodles, their show that's about to come out, the boxes and the wearables were kind of a complete disaster, but everybody's waiting for these next big releases, and I think across the board, everyone is hoping that, the big releases are a hit. Keep an eye on this pivotal moment for Futureverse, either truly game-changing tech and partnership offering high upside, or just one more failed Web3 venture. I still believe they have what it takes. Now, there's a couple different points here within the real-world asset platforms to watch with Watches.io, Collector's Crypt, which again, they do Pokemon cards and all that kind of stuff, and I had a really cool interview that we launched today, talking with Collector Crypt, Tokenized Wine with Club Divin as well. And so there's all these platforms you might not even realize that are out there, but I think this very much helps legitimize the Web3 and blockchain industries, as a lot of the stuff is, hey, there's different events, these memberships and whatnot, and you're not going to convince certain people of certain demographics of the interest of that. But if you have these easy to move real world assets on chain, tokenized, you might be able to. So in conclusion, the NFT space is evolving rapidly, with projects needing to adapt or risk obsolescence. I probably butchered that. As the landscape shifts, those that innovate and offer tangible value will thrive. From top-tier collectibles to promising real-world asset platforms, the potential for growth and success remains vast. Stay informed, stay engaged, and keep an eye on the developments within the dynamic ecosystem. The future of NFTs is still being written. And it's cannabis and feel the rain on your skin. And it's an exciting journey to witness. So again, that's from Matt Bartlett. If you guys want to check that out, it's on Blubber Notes. And if you just type in shifting currents for NFTs on your timeline, you might be able to come up with it, or just go to blubbernotes.com. Matt great breakdown of that. If you happen to see the stream, very interesting to say. And I mean, listen, guys, if you got thoughts, put them on the timeline, write articles. You get reactions from people. We want to see what the alpha and opinions of the timeline are. So Beanie here with the take, saying I'm extremely bullish on NFT technology and the new metas that incorporate DeFi X NFT right into the code. Most of this is happening on Solana, which again, a lot of the real world asset platforms have noticed are on Solana. I also don't expect we'll see an insane price bubble this time around. It will just be NFT as utility that's part of a larger ecosystem. I agree. I think that people are going to base everything on what they get, which is kind of the same, right? When you look at the different collectibles that have tokens that are staking it, okay, sure, we have like a massive cascade of some of the NFTs, but if you look at apes, for example, they're used for staking ApeCoin. If ApeCoin isn't going up and it's going down, that's going to hurt the price of it. For Fluffs as another example within that, again, we're seeing root prices go down, and so to get that future score with the Fluffs, we're also seeing a cascading effect. Once you attach a specific value of, hey, you're roughly going to get some sort of yield on it, then the game changes for everything. So very much agree with the price bubble on that previous point. Okay, talking about Ape here, during today's town hall, it's been highlighted that Ape token will be used as gas. Ape Chain protocols will bring utility to ApeCoin, and the Banana Bill will bring devs and their followers to the ApeCoin ecosystem. This is literally the absolute best opportunity to have a significant increase in demand and utility for Ape and become a top 15 chain in the industry. Now, I don't know why in the world ApeCoin is even, why it came out at like a top 40, 30 coin from its inception, and it stayed, I think for the most part, still in like the top 80 coins. It doesn't really do anything. There's a couple of games that ended up getting sold off that had utility for it, but other than staking, the token has literally done nothing other than having a big name. Maybe it's the venture capital that's behind it, but again, I think having that chain could increase things rather significantly. And to the point of like, why is the token so great? One of the assets for it, they're selling now for like under $100. Like it's crazy. It's crazy. But the one thing we've noticed is almost all these big NFT collections decided to launch continuous NFT after NFT, and there's massive dilution that's affected all the markets surrounding those. Now, last night, I have no idea why the markets crashed, but they did. I tried to find something, couldn't really see anything crazy. But the crypto long and short liquidations in the past 24 hours surpassed 300 million. This is at 9:21 last night. Huge landslide, massive liquidations, flushing everybody out. Now, let's say that we go back up. I'm not going to say there's going to be signs, but if I'm out here having huge, massive Pokemon collections, listen, we did all right. We did all right. This guy bought this dude's collection. How much do we think this is worth? Probably a couple grand. Listen, sell a couple NFTs that are still holding up on there. Maybe we can buy an entire roster of Pokemon cards. Now, I think this is a copy pasta, but we'll read it nonetheless. If you've been sidelined, believe this is a good opportunity to scale into high conviction tokens. If you're fully invested, just survive, hold your spot positions, and do not capitulate. Someone once said liquidations are a forced transfer of wealth from traders who need leverage to wealthy spot buyers. I was enjoying retirement from social media, but don't want to see my brothers get shaken out while the future is still so bright. So I'm pretty positive this is from GCR when he came back on the timeline a couple of weeks ago. And it's funny because I'm seeing more and more people on the timeline have this exact position about, oh, just hold, et cetera, et cetera. But it is also, I think at the same time, you need to watch, right? Like there's things that happen. There's ways that you can pivot on things, and like the realization of, hey, something might take way longer than something else. As we saw with the meme coin meta, there's probably a lot of people that are like, damn, I wish I kind of experimented a little bit within that space before. Might have done well, you might have not, but it's funny when the timeline all kind of has the same thoughts in that regard. Atari, I thought it was Gino the Ghost. Gino might have copy pasta it, but I'm pretty sure it was GCR who originally said it. Yo, good morning, Mr. Harry Swan. Thank you for the haircut compliment. Hell yeah. Brusif, my man. MicroStrategy, $700 million raised to buy more Bitcoin is expected to close today. Wag me. True. Okay, so some just general esports news here because we've been highlighting esports and how it's this big, huge, ridiculous winter within there. But Andy Miller, who is the owner of NRG Esports, says this is a big deal not only for NRG, but for all orgs and content creators. Another 2-year commitment from Pepsi to support esports and gaming as a whole shows our space works for brand sponsors. They're having a good experience getting ROI and coming back for more. This has been a challenging year to land new sponsors, but our best year ever for renewals. Time to get the message out. So again, very cool to see that we are seeing positive news within the esports front, which has kind of had not that great of one. Okay, now one thing that I've noticed more and more, and maybe I'm just completely unaware, but why the hell is everybody collabing with everybody? So New York Mets and Grimace, McDonald's, we highlighted the story yesterday of the Singapore Sandbox NFTs, yada yada. They're doing some with the MLB. I saw that and I was like, what the hell? Again, the McDonald's official account trying to promote the Mets for whatever reason. Kind of a cool cross collaboration. And we're going to show a whole bunch more through this as we're going through the stream. And if you guys are enjoying this, would love for you to give this a quick like. And thanks so much for being here. So the guy that gave a whole bunch of blur bids, giving different takes on the timeline, saying, damn, NFTs down bad. 12 hours after pulling bids and loans, but they told us it was all our fault. It's time to buy, guys. So 9 to 12% corrections across the board. And this was as of like midnight last night. So we're gonna do some price updates, and you might be a little bit shocked on what we see here. But Peggy Penguins at the time last night at midnight at 9 ETH, Bored Apes at 9.48, and then Mutants 8 at 1.66. Cyrus saying easily the worst the Pudgy loan book has ever looked. 100 underwater loans on Blur alone, another 100 on Bendao, another couple dozen on other platforms. This reminds me of the Mutant loan book when they went from 5 ETH to 2. Need big buyers to step in, or it is going to get ugly. And Daniel got hits highlighting breaking. Bored Ape Yacht Club NFT collection falls below 10 ETH for the first time since July 2021. Crazy to think of the monstrosity run that Bored Apes had. Again, they minted for like 0.08 ETH, and within the same year went all the way up to 10 ETH. Unbelievable. Different take here is saying ETH NFTs need to finally capitulate in brimstone and fire so we can reset and rebuild. Again, the expectations across the space, the loan market, all these kind of things. We're still, in the nascent stages of figuring all this out. Another take here saying, wait, you mean Trippy Red, Hulk Hogan, Dan Bilzerian, Lil Pump, Sexy Red, Soulja Boy, and Waka Flocka all dropping meme coins in the same month was the top? No way. Unbelievable the amount of celebrities that jumped into the space over the last little bit. And Croissant here highlighting different celebrities that launched something within the space that didn't go well. Mila Kunis with Stoner Cats, Jason Derulo with Rich Dwarves, Lil Yachty Rich Dwarves, Kim Kardashian with some Emax token. Floyd Mayweather had the Emax token as well, but he's done a whole bunch of different collectibles in there. Logan Paul with Crypto Zoo, I Show Speed. I thought this was a hack, but maybe not with Para. Jake Paul, Devin Dobrik, Lil Uzi Vert, Ozzy Osbourne with Crypto Bats. Absolutely nothing happened with that, but there was all these talks and exciting thing. Tom Brady with FTX, I guess that's kind of a thing, but Dwight Howard, we highlighted that. Kevin Hart, Shaq, all these celebrities launched a whole bunch of different things. It's crazy how almost none of them are in the space right now either. Now, some of note, over 740 million worth of tokens from several notable crypto projects such as Aptos, Arbitrum, and Optimism, along with Starknet, are set to unlock in the next 30 days. Holy sugar, that is a lot of tokens potentially hitting the market. Vance Spencer, in the short term, the solution to too many tokens is actually more tokens. Gated. Like anything, it is easier to distinguish the winners from the losers if the field is large. We are midway through this process. Actually, kind of an interesting take. I like it. C7 saying I'll be deploying $10 million worth of blend loans for Bored Ape Yacht Club assets via Blur over the coming weeks. I will also continue to provide bid liquidity on apes and mutants for a yet to be determined amount. Love the farmers or hate the farmers, we need the farmers. For the record, I am not a farmer. I'm just trying to encourage them back to Yuga. Okay, interesting. Very interesting. So, rechecking on the Pudgy Penguins price as of 7:16 a.m. So from midnight before, again, if you remember what the prices were, Pudgy Penguins now at 8.36 as of this morning. Bored Ape Yacht Club down a little bit to 9.2, and then Mutant Ape Yacht Club to 1.61. Again, big dip. Pudgy Penguins, lot of loans. And then checking as of right now, Pudgy Penguins all the way down to 7.29, down 22% in one day. Down 22% in one day. Where do you have those things? Nowhere but crypto. Bored Ape Yacht Club down to 8.88. And then for the Mutant Ape Yacht Clubs, they're below 1.5. And again, you can see on the 7-day charts here, huge, massive hits for some of the top collections. Again, having some rough times out there. So we highlighted that Grapes are doing something, and they are launching this Grapes pad, which is the ultimate token playground, they say. And it's got a couple different games, and you have an opportunity to earn like 35% APR on your Grape token with depositing different tokens with a locked period. So again, it looks like things are happening with that. Highlighting the backed by Animoca. I've been in the Discord and whatnot. Doesn't seem everybody is like over the top, but it seems that the sentiment is slowly coming back for Grapes. And then Zedrun on my timeline today, randomly having a little bit of a promo saying June 26th, 2024. What is going on with Zedrun? Are they making a good big comeback? We will see. Now, Garga here from Bored Apes and Yuga, highlighting the other side. For other side's first trip, we had 4,500 concurrent players. Second trip was 7,200. Next month, we're doing something a little different. Other side's Project Dragon will feature similar mass density numbers, but this time we're adding action gameplay with guns, grenades, capture a point, and defend it. With 1,000 plus people on your team, will it be janky at first? Probably. Will it be chaotic? For sure. We'll be iterating on this model continuously, holding a new Project Dragon event with more features every single month. More importantly, all the components we use to build Project Dragon, we're going to bake that content and those blueprints down for other builders to use and make stuff with the ODK, our extension of the MS Squared World Builder. So this is very interesting, because whenever we have these bigger experiences, these bigger launches, I'm not sure if it's just going to be only for apes or they're going to open it up for people with a whole bunch of different Yuga assets, which I think was the way that they did it last time, and eventually they're probably going to open it up, obviously, for more. But if there is a good experience, the timeline sentiment can shift like that. It's honestly wild to watch, so excited to see what the other side experience is going to be like. Fibaka back in the timeline saying, thank God some of you weren't investors in Apple. You would have left a long time ago. NFTs are a membership. I think only some of them are, but still, some may be for social clubs, some for gaming, some for physical products. The list goes on. Zoom out, for goodness sake. The timeline is far from over. We say it's Jover. Timeline looks crazy. But good to see Fibaka on the timeline as per usual. So we highlighted that the Gold Ape bundle was being sold here on Sotheby's, and the 100,000 reserve auction was met. Apparently, this is only like 30 plus ETH, which seems kind of crazy, but the current bid is 130,000 USD for this. Again, nothing kind of crazy, but I guess if you're going for a gold Bored Ape, well, now is the time to snag that. So I want to give a little bit of a perspective talk here, because again, we've been covering artifacts here and there, and I don't own any pieces within that. I've thought a couple of Clone X's look cool, but when you look at this box, do you say, I would like collecting that box? Yo, Fluff Boy, what's going on? Wag me. I actually kind of like this, so I want to take it and compare it to Cryptoys, for example, where they have Masters of the Universe toys, and personally, I don't really care about Masters of the Universe. I think Cryptoys is really cool as an example, but am I going to get out of bed to go and buy one of those toys? I don't really think so. But when I see this and I'm like, oh, I can get maybe a digital wearable for, my quote unquote metaverse life. And, I think these are kind of cool. Well, maybe that I'll go out and buy them. Now, obviously we have the questions of like the price tag and whatnot, but we're going to have to start saying, do we like the digital collectibles? Because these are the exact same as going to the store and grabbing something off the shelf, except for you're just having to only be able to use it digitally. And I was like, damn, I think these are kind of all right. So we'll see how it looks. Now, to the collaborations we've been talking about, Call of Duty X Fallout here. Again, we have the McDonald's and the Mets, Call of Duty X Fallout. all these brands are working together. Maybe this big whole metaverse thing is just going to bring everybody together for it. Kind of crazy. Web 3.0 games are dead. It's just a bubble, says Victor. Several projects launch tokens with zero utility. Industry is changing to be more realistic. I've launched Evermoon NFT for 2 weeks for closed test private link. I got over 110,000 downloads and 8 to 12,000 daily active users with zero bot and zero fake traction. Now, the reason why I noticed this, and I'm not sure if Not Good is still here, but this looks like almost exactly like League of Legends. Obviously, it's a little bit different, but we have the bushes. We have, 4 to 5 different abilities. This looks like it's for mobile game. You have some money that you're earning, the health, different abilities, whatnot, the score. It feels very, very much like League of Legends. So do we see something where if a game just has a similar vibe to an already massively successful game, that they're going to be the ones that get most of the attention, or is it going to be something else? As again, we see with the kind of MOBA aspect of the towers, shall be interesting to see. Now, something that's a little bit off to the side that hasn't been talked about as much is Magic Eden, at least what I've seen on my timeline. But Willie Anderson saying, heads up, Yuga and Faraway owners, Magic Eden now deducting 4.5% on each sale, up from 3% ever since Yuga mandated Magic Eden. For Faraway assets, Blur is still allowing freedom to transact at a reasonable 0.5%. Will take a few days, but prices will be cheapest on Blur soon. Very interesting to see just the conversations around royalty still being here. Some people saying, oh my God, 4.5% is way too much. And again, when you think of some of these like upper echelon costing ones, okay, maybe, but at the same time, I think we saw a lot of the NFT collections kind of completely stop being like, oh, we don't have any revenue that we were supposed to get from having these on-chain royalties. And so you have to, have to be slightly lenient. But Ronin here with some massive news. If you're a holder of Ronin, holy smokes, they're cooking. Breaking layer 2 blockchains are coming to Ronin. Introducing Ronin ZK EVM. In the near future, Ronin builders will be able to leverage the Polygon chain development kit to create their own ZK EVM layer 2 chains on Ronin and permissionlessly deploy their games. This marks a major step towards infinite scalability for Ronin and will power faster onboarding of games. For a full technical breakdown, please refer to yada, 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 yada. But this is wild. Yo, when marketing, what's going on? We have all these chains that are doing all these things, and now they're just like, hey, build on top of this. We have this infrastructure, and it is going to be a war. Listen, it is going to be a blockchain war for all these different chains because it's, hey, who can get the tech quickest? Who can help onboard people the quickest? Who can bring more attention to it, because things are getting competitive. The amount of money again flowing into the space, tens of billions of dollars. It's absolutely insane. But you're insane for spending this entire past 40 minutes watching the stream. I appreciate you guys so much. That's going to be it for this edition of XFeed. Again, if you've enjoyed listening, I would love for you to go check out the RWA Segments podcast that I'm doing as well. It's in the YouTube description below or in my X bio. Thank you guys so much for coming through. When marketing, Fluff Boy, Atari God, Harry Swan, Buffalo Space, Not Good, and the one and only Haliax. Guys, thank you so much. I'll see you tomorrow as